want to rethink their position and not be, not slam the door behind them.
Right.
Okay. I'll let
Hey,
y'all
how you
do
doing,
it.
Phil? I didn't see you. I didn't know you was here.
Good morning.
It's 12:01.
All right, D, you can start letting them in.
I'll admit them all, and then I'll just mute them all.
Yeah.
Wow.
Look at Christy. Hi, Christy. Hi, Andy.
Oh,
Hi,
Raul.
hi, Raul.
Welcome, Raul.
Hi, hey Jaquan, how you doing?
All right, how's it
Hey,
going?
how you doing?
Doing well. How are you guys?
Good.
Right.
Nice to finally see you, Raul.
Yeah, nice, good to actually put a face to the name, Yolanda. Nice to see you.
I gotta call you on some serious stuff. I'm gonna call you.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Christy, why you make a cheesecake on your day off?
Yeah, once we get started, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mute everybody.
Hi, Andy.
Unmuted.
How you doing, Leonda?
Any disruption?
Good. Everybody,
All right.
this is Andy. This is Andy Rice. I need for everybody to meet Andy Rice. Hopefully, he'll be the one starting up the EPA.
How you doing, Andy?
Hey, how are you, Jaquan?
All right. Pleasure
All right,
to finally
good
get
to
to
see
see you.
Yeah. Excellent.
All right, Divine. You can mute everyone. We're gonna.
Then I'll just unmute you. And you can unmute yourself, Jay. Okay, hold up. Let me unmute you, Jay. Yeah, hold up, Jay. Let me unmute you. What the hell? Good, Jay. You can hear yourself? Hold up. You gotta unmute yourself, Jaquan.
Yeah, I know. Can you hear me?
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Unmute you. You gotta unmute yourself.
Okay, so I'm unmuted now, right?
Yeah, you're unmuted now, but everybody else is muted.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining on to the Zoom meeting. In light of the pandemic, we felt that this would be the safest and the most productive way of trying to relay some information to the members of environmental police. I want you to just bear with us as we do this thing where we're muting everyone, because we want this meeting to be as efficient and move along as productive as possible. And we don't want people interrupting each person when they speak. There will be a Q&A or portion of this meeting where individuals will get a chance to ask questions if we don't cover it in our initial presentation. So today we're going to try to give you a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge in the direction in which we're going, and the new executive board and some of the things that we're implementing with our new attorneys and things of that nature. First of all, let me just give you a brief history about myself. My name is Jaquan Rivers. I've been a union person for well over 40 years. I've been working with unions for about 30 of those years. I worked with Con Ed. I was part of Local 1-2 Utility Workers Union. I was a chief shop steward there for about 10 years. I started working with the city. I became a member of Teamsters, Local 237, where I rose through the ranks of shop steward, liaison, business agent, and I subsequently ran for president of the 24,000 member union, only losing by 170 something votes. I bring with me to LEEBA the total understanding of the needs of members. I totally understand how unions have disconnected themselves a lot to members. And we pride ourselves on building transparency with the members, showing members that we are we are a union together. There's no I in team. And LEEBA, we are a family, and we have to move in a direction as a family. There's a lot of times unions or the concerns of members fall on deaf ear. We're trying to change that, perception. We're trying to take LEEBA in a much forward direction. And with that being said, again, I'm the first vice president of LEEBA, acting in the capacity of president at this time. We have Yolanda Moore. Yolanda Moore is the recording secretary. We have Laquan Word, who's the second vice president. We have Olivia Lingster, who's the office manager. We have Peter Luck, who's also chief coordinator. And we have a host of delegates. You have Sean Milan, he's a sergeant from sanitation. We have Lieutenant Jeffrey Hunter, who's also a delegate for sanitation, for LEEBA rather. And we also have Joe Purser. I'm gonna also introduce to you the acting attorneys or the attorneys. We have Labor Counsel, Mr. Phil Steelick, and we have Mr. Raul Salzberg, who's representing the disciplinary capacity of our members. For right now, if you don't mind, I would like to bring Mr. Phil Steelick on to give you a brief introduction into who he is and what he does and what he brings to the table. Devon, could you unmute Phil, please?
Yeah, he's good.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Just
Yes.
nod if you can hear me. Okay, great. So good morning, everyone. I, like Jaquan, have a 40-plus year history in labor. I was elected in 1975 to be a delegate to the correction institution that I worked in. I transferred to Rikers, was elected again to that, to be delegate of that large institution. And in my 6th year, I was elected president of the Correction Officers Benevolent Association, NYC. As president, it increased in size to, before I left, there were 11,000 members. I was president for 14 of my 20 years of service. I had gone to law school at night while I was president, and upon reaching my 20th anniversary and obtaining a 20-year half-pay pension, I resigned to start a law practice now over a quarter of a century ago. The law practice focuses on civil servants. I am labor counsel in addition to LEEBA to the New York City Captains Endowment Association. That's the police brass from police captain through deputy chief. I've done thousands of cases for civil servants of all nature, although a good deal of our practice deals with labor management issues, negotiating contracts. I've negotiated on behalf of 2 uniform force coalitions, one while I was president. I was one of the founding members of the first uniform force coalition that included police, fire, correction, later sanitation. At the time, it was housing and transit police were also involved. And most recently, all of the uniform superior officer groups formed a uniform force coalition. And while I was no longer a president, I was one of the attorneys that represented the unions representing that uniform force coalition. So I bring to the table a wealth of experience, but there's been an upheaval in your union, as you are all acutely aware of. And part of my mission when I was first hired last November was to regain the health benefits for the members. We're not satisfied with this management fund because it requires members to pay into the system if they want to have prescription drug coverage. We think that the city acted improperly. I've initiated 2 litigation actions, one in the Supreme Court of New York State, and the second, an improper labor practice petition with the Office of Collective Bargaining. Unfortunately, because of the COVID epidemic, a lot of the courts and a lot of these procedures are stymieing our efforts and slowing the process for the lawsuit. We don't even have a judge assigned to the case yet. For the improper practice, while there was some negotiations with the city, we made a presentation. The city is mulling it over and said they were going to provide a counter proposal. but because they have not done so in an expeditious manner, we've gone back to the Office of Collective Bargaining and say, we're not satisfied with the slow movement of the city, and we want to start the hearings for the improper practice. So we're putting pressure on them. We have a corporation involved, several corporations involved, and some very substantial players in the benefit management arena to get involved to demonstrate to the city that we have a new approach to managing the benefits for the members, to provide all of the prior benefits, and to do so economically and with the kind of fiduciary responsibility that the members would be pleased with. And lastly, unless there are specific questions, I've introduced on behalf of LEEBA a legal plan for all of the members with discounted rates. There's no cost to the union, but all of the members can take advantage of these discounted legal rates that are going to be beneficial and cheaper than if they go out in the field to get comparable services. Just to highlight one, personal injury attorneys all charge 1/3 after they are reimbursed for expenses. So if there's a $100,000 case with $1,000 in expenses, the attorneys get $33,000, and the individual plaintiffs would get $66,000. We've reduced it on a sliding scale all the way down to 25% for members who are involved in, let's say, a motor vehicle accident or a slip and fall, or their family dependents are. We're only providing these services to LEEBA members who are active members, who are dues paying and are in good standing, and their dependents. So no one else can take advantage. If somebody else comes to our firm and says we want the same deal, they don't get it. And they won't get it with any other firm because the standard in the industry, with no exceptions that I've ever observed, are 33 1/3%. So on $1 million case, that's an $83,000 savings to the member, to the individual. On a $3 million case, it's $250,000 more that they get in their pocket that would otherwise go to the attorney. So you can look at it. I'm sure the board will be providing that to the members shortly, and you could look it over, and there includes house closings, matrimonial issues, foreclosure defense, and on and on and on. There's a whole litany of coverages that are available to the members. Of course, Raul has a exclusive on defense, and although we do that, we're not going to provide that because we think Raul has an excellent reputation and capability to provide that to you and your fellow members. So with that, unless there's some question or something that Jaquan or the other board members want me to cover, I think I've given you my background and an update on some of the issues that we're pressing forward to push the city forward.
Phil. Right here is this is basically a format of the plan right here. I'm sharing the screen just to give y'all an idea. All right, just briefly.
Okay, while Devon is showing that.
No, that's it. Just a brief showing.
Phil, can you just a little bit elaborate on the arbitration award granted to the EPOs and where we stand with that?
Yes, I recently reviewed all of those documents, and where I've sent a email to OLR to ask them to comment on how they're going to implement the awards that were previously provided to your members. Al Vianney's determination and the city's reluctance to grant all of the increases that the award would justify. One of the things that I've learned over the 40 years is that the city likes to stonewall, and you have to just keep on pushing them and not accept their delays, and that's what we're doing. We're going to push forward. At some point, we may take some more legal action against them, The unfortunate thing with COVID is that there's a long line of litigation now because of the delays for all of the litigants across the state, and that makes that threat against OLR more challenging. The other thing is that OLR is not operational, even though my office, all of my staff are back for the last 3-4 months, and I've been in my office about 8 months. The OLR is operating remotely, and so it's very challenging to try to get any movement out of the Office of Labor Relations. When I say OLR, I'm assuming most people know that's Office of Labor Relations. So let me just turn off my phone here. So because of that, it is creating a slower resolution to some of these outstanding issues, but I believe that as long as you're persistent and you're persuasive and you don't give up and you stay in there. And I'm an old martial artist, and the sensei that taught me before I was able to get my own black belt was you fight, you fight, you fight, you get punched, you continue to fight, and you don't give up. And that's been my approach in all efforts when I was a union leader, and now as an attorney helping other union leaders, I have that same attitude. You're not going to get me to cower. I led 4 full-blown strikes against the city while I was president, and the city is not going to cower me. They're not going to intimidate me. They're not going to slow me down. They're not going to push me to the side, and I'm going to have that. I'm going to be the person with the backbone to add to the very strong efforts on the part of your union leadership, not to allow them to abuse any of the members.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Phil.
You're welcome.
Thank you. At this time, I want to introduce Raul Salzberg. He is our disciplinary attorney. He comes with a wealth of experience and knowledge, and I'm gonna let him introduce himself and give a brief introduction.
Thank you so much, Jaquan. Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to meet everyone. Yolanda, I already know you. Phil, thank you so much for the kind words. Yes, just a little bit about myself. As you guys know, my name is Raul Salzberg. I have my own law firm. I've had it since 2014. My 2 main focuses are in criminal defense and then labor defense. I've been doing discipline work for a number of years. In addition to obviously servicing LEEBA now, which is obviously terrific, and it's a pleasure to deal with everybody. I've done work for COBA NYC, COBA Rockland County, and I've had union experience my entire life. My grandfather, I'm from Chicago, Illinois. My grandfather was a union member in the meat packing. He was in a butcher's union. Spoke about it till the day he died. He was a proud member of a union. He explained to me what it meant to be part of a brotherhood, what it meant to stand up and fight for workers' rights. My best friend, he's also still in Chicago. He's a Niles firefighter. Not only is he a member of a union there, Jaquan, they're a Teamster shop there, and he's actually a union steward there. And he's currently in the process of moving up the rankings as well. Management hates him. He tells me I get stories every day. He likes to call me his unofficial advisor, but we do a lot of back and forth, and he's constantly sending me emails, things like that. He's on management for everything, and he's currently moving his way up. He only got into the union a few years ago, and I mean, he loves it. And this is part of why, I truly appreciate what you guys do. I honestly and truly believe that sadly unions are not what they were, but they can be back to what they were, which is great. It's important for everyone to have a union. I think it's key. I honestly, truly believe that without you guys and the hard work that you do, that workers would otherwise be lost. And I would love to help everybody. Jaquan knows I'm available to anyone, anytime. If anyone likes, I'm happy to give you my phone number now. 917-244-4322. It's my direct cell phone. Jaquan knows I'm available Saturdays, Sundays, Tuesdays, night, day. He and I have wonderful conversations at all hours. The one thing I want to say to everybody is, discipline is a very real thing. And just in the short time I've been doing this for LEEBA, I've seen some of the nonsense they're trying to pull on members. I've seen the difficulties that members are having as they're coming after their, look, they're coming after their wallets, they're coming after their jobs. And we don't want that. You guys have hard enough jobs that it is without management constantly breathing down your neck. So, you know, for all the delegates out there, my advice is always the same. Number one, you guys are the center. You guys are the key. You're the beacon. That your members come to you, and you have the most important role, and that is to listen, to help, and to make sure that your members are doing what they can do to save their jobs, save their money. And I advise all of you, on top of doing the amazing jobs you do, the sooner that you can get a member in touch with me for any sort of discipline action, the better. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. I don't feel like, oh no, it's you know, I got to call at midnight. I'll get to Raul tomorrow. No, have them reach out, call me, email me. I will never go more than a few hours without responding. There are obvious times when I'm in court or literally asleep, but I will get back to you. And I think it's just vitally important for you guys to communicate with your members, obviously, and to have them communicate with me. I have a very much an open door policy. I want to be available to you guys, and I really look forward to working with you. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Raul. Thank you, Raul. Thank you.
Thanks.
Before we open up for questions, I just want to have a few words because it's very important at this day and time in 2020 that we understand the importance of unity. I know everyone is aware of the fiscal problem facing the city of New York and the state of New York. And the mayor and the governor is talking about furloughs, layoffs, and things of that nature. Right now, they have begun furloughing. Oh, what happened to my picture? Oh, okay, wrong, sorry. They started furloughing management staff and possibly laying off some of them. But this is very important, and you need to understand this. They're going after non-union people or non-union city employees. So it's very important that you, as a new employee, that you sign these authorization cards, making yourself an official member of LEEBA, because the ones that are not union members are on the chopping block, because they're going to go after them first to start trying to either furlough them or lay them off. So you have a lot of people out there with a lot of different stories, and you're hearing it from the horse's mouth right now. There's no other entity or no other union out there that can represent you in disciplinary actions and things of that nature, cannot negotiate collective bargaining for you. LEEBA holds the collective bargaining certificate. If anyone is telling you that they can do this and they can do that, they're selling you a dream. This is not a time to play political games with your livelihood. Your family, you and your family is at stake. The city doesn't care about you. They don't care about your family. That's why it's more importantly today that we unify as one family of LEEBA members. Although we're small, we're strong. Most of the other unions have hundreds of thousands of members. We don't. We barely have about 800 members, but that's 800 families that's affected by the decisions we make moving forward. So it's important that you understand that that moving forward, we have a vision. Those of us that's on here have a vision of taking LEEBA forward in a direction of unity and strength and transparency. I'm not going to elaborate on anything from prior to this administration. I'm going to move forward with where we're going. And as you see, we have very experienced, competent lawyers that's here and willing to go on the battlefield and fight for each and every one of you and your family members. And you have an executive board that we hardly ever sleep. Trust me, we're meeting when you don't think we're meeting about the next step. But more importantly, you are the union. You make this union strong. We will do everything within our power to move you forward, but we need your support because you are the foundation of this union. So if there's any questions, we're going to get ready to open it up for questioning. There's a symbol on there that actually just raise your hands. Am I correct, Divine?
Yeah, it should be there. Yes, the last I looked, it was there. So if not, then you can just wave like this and I'll just activate you if you can't find the actual raised hand, and I'll just unmute you according to, you know, the hand waves that I do see.
Okay. Let
Okay,
me
we
say
got
one thing
the
before you.
first one
Let me say
here.
one thing. Let me say one thing before you let them in. I'm asking everybody, in honor of unity, please let's respect each other as they speak. Don't speak over them. If we happen to unmute some people, if you got background noise, turn it down. Take a few minutes to hear your brother and or sister and ask their question, because they might ask the question that you may want to answer to, and it may save you from repeating the same question. And we will answer the questions as much as we possibly can. If there's anything that we can answer, we will definitely get back to you between now and next week with an answer to your question, but I'm quite sure most of your questions we can answer. Okay, Divine, you could
Okay, the first up, I don't know his name, but it says iPhone. You're up first. I unmuted you.
Okay, this is Hunter. How you doing? I'm here with Purser. He was
What's up, guys?
What's up, brother?
What's going on? So I'm sorry, but I missed the first part of the attorney. So that attorney, he's basically what? Who is he? This.
All right, which attorney? Because we have two. We have Phil Selick and we have Raul Zanskar.
Well, I know I'm familiar with Phil, but who was the other gentleman that spoke last?
Raul. You can
Raul.
speak to
Okay, Raul. All right. And what's his role? What is he going to be focusing more on?
Yeah, Raul, you can speak.
Hey, how you doing? I'm focused on discipline matters. So
Okay.
any member who's getting any sort of issues with management discipline, whether it's vacation or termination, call me.
Okay, got you. Can you just run back your number again, if you don't mind? I know I only got.
It's in the chat. You can look in the chat.
I put it in the chat, so you can just, if you open up the chat feature, I'm happy to give it to you again too. It's 917-917.
And in the future, what we will be doing is we will be making sure that all of this information is on the website. So at any time you need to find out specific contact information, you just go to the website. It will see attorneys, and we're going to set up a whole page for our attorneys. And you can just go there. It'll be available to you.
Got you. All right, no problem. Sounds like a plan.
But it's in the chat right now. Just go right to the chat and it's there.
All right, I'll do it after this is over. All right, cool.
Is there any other questions? Divine, actually, you can mute everybody, and if it gets out of hand, then we'll re-mute them. I think right now, I think we can unmute most of everybody.
All right, say no more. Sounds like a good idea.
Let me know when everybody's unmuted.
Okay, hold
on. My name's Andy Rice.
Hey, Andy, how's it going again?
Good. One question that I was asked a lot by people is, right before the COVID, we were about to go into arbitration. And a lot of people are asking, are we still on that docket? Or are we still able to move forward when things open up?
That was arbitration for what exactly, Andy, if you don't mind me asking?
For the EPOs.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. The city had came to LEEBA and offered to arbitrate a decision that was already arbitrated. We're not going to go down that road. It was already arbitrated. There's no need to have it re-arbitrated, and we have a decision already. We will be falling into a loophole if we agreed to go back into another arbitration for something that has already been arbitrated and the decision has been awarded. So that's why Mr. Selick was speaking about the Office of Collective Bargaining moving forward with an improper practice in regards to moving the arbitration forward. Phil, if you want to add in, if I'm correct.
Sure. Sure. So when there's an arbitration award, the appropriate remedy, if you're dissatisfied with the arbitrator's determination, is to go to court and to find that the arbitrator either acted outside the scope of the arbitrator's authority or that it was irrational. There was an effort for the city to now come forward and say, oh, we want to re-arbitrate. And that opens up the door to a different outcome because you never know what a new arbitrator will determine. If we have a favorable decision, we want to hold on to that favorable decision and say we want it to be implemented, which is what our current posture is, rather than to have them relitigate something that is already determined to be in our favor. So that's why the union leadership is saying, no, we're not going back to the table and renegotiating or trying to convince an arbitrator to give us what we've already won, because there is always a risk that the new arbitrator will find differently, especially in an economic retrenchment that is happening in New York. We all know that a lot of the taxpayers, the upper echelon of taxpayers, flew the city, and businesses have been shutting down. Sales tax is not being gained by the city in the same proportion. Half the restaurants are out of business. A lot of people aren't going to stores to buy things. They're going online and maybe not paying city sales tax. So because of that, the city is hurting. That's why they're talking about 9,000 layoffs. And I can tell you, because although I wasn't in the union leadership at the time, I was a delegate. In 1975, there was a similar financial retrenchment in the city. They went to all the unions and said, oh, we're going to fire everybody, but if you give things up, we could save these jobs. And I guarantee you they're looking at that now, and that's why they're floating the 9,000 individuals, because they're going to go to each and every union and say, you're going to have to make changes here if you don't want your members to be fired. And they're going to be squeezing the nuts of every union leader in the city. And they're going to be trying to get them to give ups. Last time when that happened, the unions did give up quite a bit in order to save the city from bankruptcy. And what happened when the city started getting money again and had surpluses? That didn't go back to the unions. That went to other programs that the city wanted to utilize. And we don't want the unions to make the same mistake. And certainly LEEBA is going to have a strong voice in opposing give-ups in order to right the ship for the city, because of their mismanagement over the years and not having sufficient surplus to weather this financial storm. So in keeping with that attitude, if we open up the door, it is very plausible that one of the arguments the city will make is that we can't afford it, and that as a public policy, the arbitrator has to renege on earlier determinations. So we would be very foolhardy to open that door, and that's been the posture of the union leadership, and I fully endorse it, and for the reasons stated, think it's prudent not to open up that door.
Okay, thank
I have
you
a
for,
question
thank you for your
that I have-
answer there.
Oh, one second,
Can I just
one
respond to that, please? Can I respond to that, please?
Sure,
So,
go ahead.
so
Andy.
we had already begun that process. So that what I'm also wondering is if we don't follow through on that, does that reflect on us in any way? Because we had already begun the process. I think they picked arbitrators and we're talking to lawyers about dates. So does that have a negative effect on us that we don't follow through with that, or is
No, if there's no arbitrator, there's no arbitration decision, and there's nothing they could point to say that they are then enforcing the new determination. They can't unilaterally pick an arbitrator. They can't unilaterally have a hearing in the absence of the union. There are other things the city can do and impose things, but it's all subject to challenge. But we don't want them to have an opportunity to rely on an arbitrated decision, because courts are deferential to arbitrators, and the standard is such that once you have an arbitrator's award, it's almost impossible to overturn it unless you could demonstrate that the arbitrator acted outside the scope of authority of that arbitration or acted totally irrationally. And that almost never happens, because they know how to cover their ass and write it up in such a way that they conform to those requirements. And therefore, it is rare that courts will overturn an arbitrator's decision. So we don't want to expose ourselves to that for those reasons and the reasons I stated earlier.
So,
Okay, I
Andy,
get that.
just to add on to that, Andy, for lack of better words, we're probably in the best shape we can be with moving forward with the arbitration decision.
Okay.
Yeah, Jaquan.
That's what I was, because I was concerned that
12:35.
that we had, since we since the Vianney decision, we have signed contracts, and I guess that won't get in the way.
No, you're absolutely right. You're right with that, Andy. So it won't get in the way. We're just moving forward. It's a process that we're just going to continue moving forward with to try to come to some type of resolution in regards to the second half of this award.
Okay, great. And is there any indication on when we would be able to move forward with a litigation?
Well, no, not right now.
Everything, I'm sorry, Jay, let me quickly jump in. Everything is dependent on what's happening with COVID, because the courts, although they're now opening up more and more, there's such a tremendous backlog that you can expect that everything's going to be on a slow roll. But yes, we're pushing forward, and we're hoping we can resolve these in labor management meetings. But I can tell you, while we're on a Zoom call, that's not the best way to negotiate. You want to be face to face. You want to be able to see the reactions. You want to see how different members on the other side of the table are looking at each other. These little innuendos that give clues, and sometimes off the record discussions when you're lobbying your point, not in an official way that everybody's taking notes, is what is most meaningful. And a Zoom call, you really can't get those kinds of indicators. And in my view, you're not going to be as effective and as persuasive when making your pitch to the city as to why a different resolution than the one that they're offering is appropriate. So, this is terrible. It has been terrible for families who have lost loved ones and friends and family members. It is terrible for business, and it's terrible for unions that are in limbo here and not being effective in moving forward as quickly as we want to resolve some of these outstanding issues. And I understand the frustration of the members, and the leadership is equally, if not more, frustrated about it. But we sort of have to wait out this virus so that we can get back to the table and get some more meaningful improvements for the members. It's just a fact of life that has affected individuals universally, not just this union, but other unions and other businesses and other individuals across America. So it's just something we have to be accepting of. It doesn't mean we have to be happy about it. It can be frustrating and disappointing, but a delay is not denial. Delay is delay, but we're not going to be denied.
All right. Thank
I
you,
have
Andy.
a question from a precinct.
Thank you, Andy.
Yep.
Appreciate that question. Go ahead, Yolanda.
Okay.
This came into the chat because the 5th precinct doesn't have a mic, so they're actually in the chat. And the question was this from Officer Gallion to whoever else is listening. We do not have a mic at the 5th precinct. What cards are there to fill out? So far, none have been provided to the 5th precinct. Is our membership as of right now still good?
Let them know if they filled out an authorization card, then they're in good standing. If not, and if they're not sure if they have one, they can go online to the website and fill out authorization cards electronically through the website. The system is set up to accept authorization cards that way.
Hold on 1 second. Let me just make sure they got that. They said, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
We're going to pass it on. Any other questions? Please feel free to ask if you have a question. As I stated, if we can answer it, we're going to answer it. If not, we'll get back to you. But please feel free.
Can Phil talk about the annuity fund and how that's being handled?
Yes. So now, I guess now we're asking him to take off the lawyer's hat and put on his easy face hat, I assume.
Yes. And people have to mute their backgrounds right now.
Yeah, I don't want to have to mute everybody and just hand pick. So try to keep the background noise down to a minimum.
Phil, can you answer questions? Can you inform the members about the annuity fund and what had happened with it and what's happening now?
Yeah, the annuity fund is still operational, and their members should still be able to go online the way they have in the past to adjust whatever approach they have to investing. So if they have a more aggressive approach and they want to have small caps as opposed to large caps, or if they're conservative and they want to be in a bond fund, you know, there are some choices there for a more aggressive or a more conservative approach. The way annuity funds work is that the annuity funds provide a benefit to members upon separation from service, either through retirement, resignation, termination, or in the case of death, it goes to the family members. If they retire or leave before their 59th and a half birthday, there is a 10% penalty if they don't roll it over into an IRA. So they have to roll it over. There are 11 exceptions. So a first-time home purchase, some disability, and 9 other exceptions allow for the exclusion of that 10% penalty in addition to other taxes, because this annuity fund is pre-tax dollars. So it's not part of the money you pay taxes on every year. Now, the city, when they stop paying into the benefit funds, the health benefit funds also stop paying into the annuity fund for the members. And the city has been telling us that they put it in an escrow fund, but every effort to find out where that is has been stymied. I wrote an email to them saying that when members retire, we have to do a calculation as to the amount of money in their individual account, including that portion of the escrow fund that the city has said is in a bank account. And so the city is obligated to give us that information. They have yet to do so. We want to have a specific member that is retired or resigned or left so that we can press them further, or if push litigate if they are dragging their heels and not providing that information. We're suspicious that they may not be putting any money in an account because they haven't reviewed. And they have acted in violation of the trust fund agreements that required them not to stop payments or to put it into an escrow fund, but to continue to pay the union. And if they thought that it was the union was acting improperly or didn't make the correct reporting as required under Directive 12, they had an obligation to go to arbitration, but they chose a different path. And quite frankly, I think they violated their own fiduciary responsibilities, and I told them so on a personal level. And we're in the midst of negotiation to resurrect those payments to the members again through their fund, and to reinstitute the contributions every 28 days so that members can get the full array of benefits, including prescription drug coverage, without having to pay additional money. The one last comment on that is that when they place people into the management fund, the difference there is twofold. One is managers earn somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000. We all know these are the upper echelon of the various agencies. They're not union members. In order to place them in the management fund, the city had the mayor promulgate an executive order to allow union members of LEEBA to join that management fund. But the management fund does not provide prescription drug coverage, which is expensive. So they then go to the members and say, well, you got to kick in. Now, if you're earning $150,000, $200,000 a year, paying another $500 a month, you're not breaking a sweat. But if you're earning $50,000, $60,000, $75,000 a year, and you got to pay that extra $500 for you and your family, or some number like that, that may not be achievable. And so about half of the LEEBA members have not opted to purchase it and still don't have those prescription coverages. When they stopped payment in 2018, the only thing they did provide was prescription coverage, and they did a rider rather than going out to the vendors and just paying the vendors as they had been paid to keep all of the benefits going. They put a rider on some of the medical coverage, and it ate up all of the funds that typically would have gone to the union. So they stopped paying for dental, for vision, for insurance coverage, life insurance coverage. And that's why they have acted so recklessly and with an abandon from their fiduciary responsibilities. And that's part of the lawsuit that was initiated. There are some legal hurdles to succeed in that, but that's the issue. The second thing is, we don't know how much they pay each month for to keep the management fund viable. So if they were supposed to pay $1,500 and change each year for each member for the health benefits through LEEBA, and maybe they're only spending $1,200 a year to have people in the management fund. We don't know because they have not shared that information with us, but it's possible they're getting away cheaper, and that's another reason why they're dragging their heels, because they figure, oh, let them pay for the prescription drug coverage. And so these are the kind of issues that have to be sorted out, and the city is been talking to us and communicating with us, but they have not been, in our view, responding promptly enough or with the kind of answers that we want to see, which is a quick resolution and a resolution that fully restores the benefits to the members and renews what their obligation is under the contract and these various trust fund agreements, which are attached as a addendum to the contract.
Okay. Did anyone have another question? Yvonne, I think you might have to unmute them, right?
Yeah, well, you want me to unmute them all and then restart?
Yes.
Yes.
Unmute them all.
Okay. Everybody can unmute. As you need, whoever want to speak, you can unmute yourself and talk. Okay. Okay, hold up. My bad. Wait up. Let me see something. Ask to unmute. All right. Excuse me, y'all.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't want to.
Yeah, everybody's basically unmuted now, more or less.
All right, yeah, we good.
Good. Everybody's good. Any questions?
No, I think they answered all the questions that we had on our end right now.
Hi, how are you? This is Jose Rivera from Eastern Precinct.
Jose Rivera?
How you
Hey,
doing?
Rivera.
All right, so here's my question. For the last few weeks, we've had a number of officers who have opted out, so have had officers who haven't filled out any of the authorization card because they're new officers to the agency. There has been a constant push for of cards being signed because they're under the impression that they can just go ahead and get decertified. And I believe they have the NYPD Sergeants Benevolent Association involved somehow or another. So whoever's on the line, please explain what the actual process is. They just can't come in and be certified and just decide to take. They're under the impression they can just take over where we're at, like just more or less get rid of LEEBA and just start their own union and then take over from where we're at right now.
Phil?
Okay. Well, let me say a few words to that. Then I'll let Phil say a few words on it. In the beginning, when I was talking about terribly misleading members into understanding the process, that's what I was talking about. Those members that are being persuaded into opting out are now become vulnerable to this furlough, no union representation, at a time where it's heightened that the city is in a financial crunch and they will stop at nothing to redeem this money back, and that's including furloughs, layoffs, and whatever the case may be. It's a shame that members, people will indicate that they can go to another union, knowing that that's not legally true, and especially in the manner in which they're saying they're going to do it. And another thing is, the union, the Sergeant Benevolent Association, has not. Excuse me, gentlemen, could you put the mute on?
You got to mute yourselves.
I muted it. I see where it was coming from.
the Sergeant Benevolent Association has not formally put their signature, John Hancock, whatever you want to call it, on anything, because then we would approach that union with a cease and desist of trying to entertain our members. These individuals that are probably LEEBA members or probably not LEEBA members or advocates for this group is leading them down a very dark and dangerous road at this time by telling them to opt out. Opt out means you're not entitled to union representation when it comes to disciplinary and things of that nature. So you're playing a very dangerous game with your livelihood and your family's livelihood when they have absolutely no legal standings with representing the members in these certain particular cases. So I'm going to let Phil add on to that and give you a legalistic understanding of it. Phil, would you mind?
Sure. So there are ways to decertify a union. They have not made any effort to decertify, and quite frankly, these members, I could understand the attractiveness to them. There was an upheaval in your union not too long ago because of the arrest, as you know, of your president based on the effort by the city to try to hurt the union and made these claims against the president. But just a minute. My wife loves to call me at the most inopportune times. So, but one of the things that these members are failing to understand is there is no decertification now, that they're just opting out and they have no union representing. We still would negotiate contracts, and if they get an improvement in their contract, they get that money, but they're not getting the other benefits of legal representation if they get jammed up on a disciplinary and all the other things that union provides, the grievances. But more importantly, even if they were hypothetically at some time in the future to join the Sergeants Benevolent Association and the members of LEEBA opt out and become part of the Sergeants Benevolent Association, I can tell you with a surety that LEEBA members will be the stepchild of the Sergeants Benevolent. They're not going to be treated the same way as NYPD sergeants are. There is no way in hell, because that's their union. And if they want to get some additional money by having somebody else pay them and they get some additional money in the coffer, that doesn't mean that they're going to be treated the same as the sergeants are. PD has always seen themselves as higher above everybody else. And that's a fact of life. They don't think that hospital police are the same, that the school safety officers who are uniformed, the inspectors, environmental police, the highway and sewer inspectors, the sanitation enforcement agency, they don't treat any of those people as being equal to PD. That's just the way it is. So if members had ever gone in that direction, I can guarantee you they will be the stepchild and they won't be getting the same deal that the sergeants will. It will just be, yeah, give us money and join our union, and they'll give a lot of lip service, but they ain't ever going to be treated the same as PD. Whereas LEEBA's whole purpose is to take all of these uniform members and have them treated as they should be, not in civilian unions, but in a uniform group of members who likewise are law enforcement, but treated improperly by the city. And quite frankly, whenever there is efforts, even when I was president of the Correction Union and I wanted a bill passed, when I was trying to get the 20-year pension that I was able to get for my members from an age 62 retirement system, I fought for that. PD was up there fighting the legislation. They were trying to kill the legislation to stop the correctional officers from getting a 20-year pension. They're not there to allow anybody else to get the benefits that PD gets. It's always PD first. So these members are being sold a bill of goods, and unfortunately, they're losing out on being part of a union that fights for them and fights to get the benefits that you deserve and the improvements that you deserve, and not to be stymied by another group to try to reduce the authority and the effectiveness of the union by reducing its membership.
All right, and one thing I want to add to that as well. We are implementing a new process of representing, and Raul can speak to this if he wants to, a new process of representing members in disciplinary action. If you're not a member in good standing, and if you opt out, you're not entitled to representation, plain and simple. That opting out, we're not required to represent you in your disciplinary issues. We've been speaking with Raul, and he understands that, and we're going to be updating the list as people opt out, that these people will not be afforded disciplinary representation by our legal team. That is not going to happen. So if they think that they're going to opt out and then they're going to get in trouble and they're going to come back and then say, we need help, listen, unfortunately, you pick and choose the route you want to go. And if you choose to opt out, then you choose not to have representation. And these groups out there that say they can represent you and say they can do this, that, and the third, you got to remember who holds the bargaining certificate and bargaining for your contracts and MOAs and things of that nature. Raul, you want to say a few words to that, or you?
Yeah, we have Mr. Andy Rice had his hand up for quite a while.
All right, hold on, but let the attorney speak, D. Let the attorney speak. Yeah. Let unmute Raul.
All right. Oh, hold up. Let me unmute him. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that.
Just very quickly, and I just to piggyback what Jaquan said, we're in constant communication. The idea is obviously it's LEEBA first. If you're not a member, I can't represent you, and we've run across that. Obviously, that's what Jaquan's alluding to, and that's my first question is basically after what happened is are you a LEEBA member, and then what's happened. So just it's to their own benefit to not be sold a bill of goods like Phil said, because if nothing else, their jobs are protected through the union. So yeah, I mean, whatever the sergeants and everyone else is trying to sell them is a bunch of nonsense, just like Phil said. So please make sure to spread the word, because there's one union, and as Jaquan said, it's LEEBA. So beyond that, thank you.
Thank you, Raul.
Before we go to Andy, is there anybody else that had their hand up? Hold on, Andy, because we're trying to give everybody opportunity to ask questions.
Yes, please, Andy. We come back to you, Andy.
We'll come back to you. And we're also having another meeting tomorrow.
Can I just speak to, just quickly and briefly, I've had a long background in, this crap about, members opting out. And the first thing that people need to remember is exactly what Phil and Raul are talking about. Once you opt out, management is on the hunt. They actually request a list of all the people who opt out. So once you opt out, well, guess what? Now I'm gonna, change your days off. I'm gonna switch your shift, or I'm gonna change your location. I'm going to do something to you to cause you to have a problem. And now you are stuck between a rock and a hard place without having representation. I have fought long and hard. I come from CUNY and saw this firsthand. I was a shop steward forever and represented members. All of a sudden, members opted out. And the first thing management did was request a list of all the members who opt out so that they can, those are the people that they're going to get rid of first. They're not going to take a look at anything else. And you don't have anywhere else to run to if you're not part of a union. So yeah, you may get your benefits and you may, receive the benefits of retro, but guess what? You really need representation so that you can save your job. Why be on a job for 20 years and all of a sudden there's a problem and now you don't have a job? So, and believe me, they'll find ways to not give you your pension and not ways to give you your money. Pension is really, really important, and people need to understand that. And now those are the first things that they're going to go after. So those who opt out, I urge you to rethink your position. I understand things are kind of rough right now, but rethink position. I think LEEBA is really looking to go in a good direction so that we can represent you and fight for you to make sure that you have all of your benefits. The city is looking to get rid of us. They don't want us to unionize. They don't want us to do the things that we're doing. So be mindful when you decide to opt out. And really, if you have to, speak to the lawyer, speak to Raul, speak to people who can explain that type of situation to you and what you're giving up, you know. So be mindful of that for the members who are on the fence about opting out or, you know, not being part of the LEEBA family.
Well said. Thank you, Olivia.
Anybody else?
D, you might have to unmute everyone because some people are not visual, so we can't see them waving their hand.
Yeah, some people are.
You heard
Andy,
me?
what's yours for now?
He's muted. We have to unmute
him.
him.
Unmute him. I'm unmute him. He's unmuted.
Go ahead, Andy.
It says the host is not allowing me to unmute.
Now we hear you.
Okay. One quick question was, there was a lot of disinformation put out for a long time, and we haven't had meetings, and people, I think people did opt out. And is there going to be an opportunity for some of those people to opt back in?
Great question, Andy. Yes, we are encouraging people to opt back in. And based on their actions of whether it was pro-union, anti-union, whatever, the board, the consideration of each individual who wished to opt back in will be considered by the board. And if allowed back in, there might be an initiation fee to come back into the union. But yes, everyone is encouraged to apply to come to opt back into the union.
Okay.
I have a question from the 5th precinct before we go further, because they've been chatting with me. And the question
if I could just follow up with that quickly, and then I'm done.
All right.
Because people were given a lot of disinformation, and people, we haven't actually had any meetings for a long time. I would request that people aren't dissuaded from opting back in by having, a big fee to get back in, and that we could start to move in the right direction with goodwill and unity for everybody. That's it.
We'll discuss that, Andy, and we'll put it back. We'll get back to you with that one. But for right now, we don't know how much the fee is going to be to get back in. We're just giving people an opportunity right now to go to the website and fill out the authorization cards, and we'll meet on it, and we'll let you know.
Yes, definitely. We're going to follow up. These meetings is just the beginning of a series of meetings that we're going to be having moving forward. And also, as Phil indicated and Divine talked about, we're going to have a bi-monthly or quarterly newsletter that goes out is launching November 1st, keeping the members informed of everything that's going on and the issues at hand. So yeah, we are changing some things, and we are moving in a more, we would say, more constructive direction with transparency. And yes, we still urge people caution with opting out, and those who are opted out should apply to be opt back in, and things will be dealt with on an individual basis, and the board will make final decisions, and we'll move forward. Devon, I think you might have to unmute everybody for a minute and just see if anybody else have any questions, because some people are not visual, so we can't see them waving their hand.
All right.
And I have, let me read these comments while he do that. This is for Phil. If Phil, can you hear me? If you can hear me, nod your head. Okay, this is coming from the 5th precinct again. As far as what you was explaining about the arbitrator's decision, the comments came in and said, we the members did nothing wrong. The city's actions concerning the withholding of the funds is that not considered a breach of contract? And what is our recourse for such treatment? Then they go on to say, are there punitive damages due to the hardship of now having to pay for prescription coverage when we did not change our work responsibilities? And then the last question, I answered that question. The last question is, what is LEEBA's members/family coverage concerning the line of duty death or death in general of COVID-19? And what happens if the majority of the EPOs opt out of the union?
I'm sorry, give me the last part again.
The last part says, hold on, I gotta go back to the chat. Give me 1 second. I got out of that real quick. The last part says, what happens if the majority of the EPOs opt out of the union? That was the last part. Or what is LEEBA's member/family coverage concerning line of duty death or death in general from COVID-19?
Okay, so there are several different things here. So the first is in terms of the lawsuit. There's a lawsuit against the city of New York. The problem with the lawsuit is that one of the requirements is that it be arbitrated. When I came in November, there was already a notice of claim made by a previous attorney, so I was sort of tethered to what had already been presented, and then we went forward with a lawsuit. Now, the annuity fund doesn't require arbitration, but the health benefit funds require arbitration. So one of the defenses is that, or it requires a grievance, I should say, not an arbitration. So our position is we did grieve it, and there were several emails, and we don't have an obligation to go to arbitration because it says may go to arbitration. It doesn't say shall go to arbitration after the third step of the grievance. But there is some risk there that a court might say, well, you should have arbitrated. So we don't know whether that will fly. For the annuity fund, there's no such requirement, so we feel we're in a stronger position there. But likewise, the city was obligated to arbitrate when they stopped paying into the fund, and they did that unilaterally. And therefore, we think that the city has unclean hands and can't really present that as a defense. But that hasn't been presented to a court yet. As I said, the court hasn't even assigned a judge. We did ask for damages. We asked for all the money that they didn't give us. We asked for an accounting of what they spent. We have put in issues about their lack of fiduciary responsibility. So we're still pressing forward on that. But as is true of all litigation, there are uncertain results. And no matter how strong you think your case is, a judge might find unfavorably toward you. But we're not just relying on the lawsuit. As a second effort in that regard, when the city a year later placed members into the management benefit fund, they did so in violation of the what's called an improper labor practice under the collective bargaining rules of the city of New York. And therefore, we took out this improper labor practice. And I wrote the Office of Collective Bargaining to tell them that I want to start proceedings because we think they have no defense in saying that they were authorized to make that move and place members into the management benefit fund, which I think forces their hand to start paying the union again so that we could go out and purchase all these benefits for the members. In regard to, one second, please. I'll be there in a minute. In regard to what was the last? Oh yeah, the death benefit for members who are in Tier 4. Most of your members are in Tier 4. There's a 3 times final average salary if a member dies while an active member. It doesn't matter whether it's COVID or something else. They automatically get 3 times their final average salary to the surviving beneficiary who's named on the beneficiary card with the New York City Employees Retirement System. Was there something else, Yolanda, that I missed?
And what happens if, let me ask the last question to just show transparency. The last question, what happens if the majority of EPOs opt out of the union?
Yes, it just means they're not in the union. If there's an effort to decertify, members can vote after a majority, all members, not just those in EPO, environmental police officers, but the entire union would have to be over 50% to opt into some other union. They would all have to agree, and it can only be done at certain times. It can't be done anytime that they wish, and so there are real issues about any opportunity to do that. I don't think at this point there is such an opportunity, nor do I think the majority of the members would choose to do that, even if there was an opening to achieve that. Remembering that there are 3 different groups, and it is unlikely that there will be a disintegration of the union as a whole to allow certain members to opt out and join another union. There was an effort to do that in the state police union at some point, but the determination was that they had to have 50% of the entire union, not just 1 or 2 of the groups within that union. So that's the way that works legally.
Okay, let me just hold on one second, y'all. I mean, we let somebody else talk right now. Let me make sure that's enough.
Yeah, if anybody have a question, please unmute yourself. And if you cannot be unmuted,
I have to step away for a second.
okay. Phil.
Okay.
If there's any other questions, please unmute yourself or raise your hand. Do whatever you have to do to.
It's almost 1:30.
Okay, thanks for that, Milan.
All right.
Is there any other questions? Anything that need to be clarified?
All you have to do is unmute your mic and speak. I've situated it where you can just unmute.
If there's no other questions, we're going to bring this meeting to a close. Those who didn't get a chance to ask your questions today, or feel that you want to
reach out. One more thing, I can.
I'm sorry.
Sure, who's this?
This is from Eastfield. So
Hi, go ahead.
Not so much a question, but just the fact that in this day and age and where we are as far as this new administrative law from New York City and targeting police officers, I think this should be reiterated over and over again, the importance of having legal representation. And by anybody opting out, you're only putting yourself, especially if you're on probation, in a spot where the city of New York can very easily say, we're not indemnified, and good luck.
Jay, one more question came from the 5th precinct. I love the 5th precinct. They like after this one. They wanted you to give whatever you can give information about Stephen King. I know it's not much that we could say, but
yeah, right now we can't really expound on it. It's litigation in progress under the U.S. Attorney's Office, and we're not at privilege to speak, nor are we able to speak to them without the assistance of Labor Counsel. So we're very limited to what we speak to them about. So we're not privileged to know the internal makeup of what's going on. What we will say as a board and as a family, that our prayers are with them and their families during this time. And we wish them the best, and we will do all within our power to help this thing go smoothly and in a timely fashion. I will say this, for those who want to know if was there funds missing or something like that. No, there was no funds missing. You can go to your account, you can look at it. So at this point, that's basically what you can do. You can look it up and see that there was no funds taken or lost or anything because of the allegation. But that's as far as we can go with it right now.
Any other questions?
I think that's it, because they said thank you. Thank you too for chiming in, 5th precinct. Thank you.
Raul, I want to thank Raul. I want to thank Phil. I want to thank the entire executive board. Everyone, Divine, Yolanda, Olivia, Milan, Hunter, Persa, and everyone else and all the members, because like, again, I said in the beginning, you are we're here to fight for you. We're here to make sure that you and your family have a cohesive and productive lifestyle, work lifestyle. And that's what we're going to do. But we need your help. We need your support. You have to support us just as much as we support you.
We need delegates. We need volunteers for delegates.
Yes, well, we're going to be looking out for some delegates in different agencies to be part of the mechanism to make this wheel turn. The members are there. We're going to be looking for talented members to become part of the board family, to help us make prominent decisions, to come up with some good ideas because moving forward, as Phil said, it's not going to be easy. The city is not with us. They tolerate us, but we have to be tolerable. And what I mean by that, we have to give them something to tolerate. So we have to move forward and we have to stand firm on our position of fighting for members and their quality of life. But again, we have to do it as one unit. We cannot do it separately. So for those who are trying to separate this union, you know, it behooves you to try to do something of that magnitude at this point in time in life in 2020, when we're losing lives at an alarming rate and people are so distressed all over this world right now, particularly in this country. It behooves you to do that. This is more of a time we need to strengthen our foundation. We need to stand firm. We need to look it in its eye, and we need to pull together and move forward together. And again, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining on to this meeting today. And I look forward to meeting with your colleagues or those who wants to join us tomorrow. And I don't know if both of the attorneys will be able to make it tomorrow, but we're going to try. I'm not sure, depending on their timing. But we will try to answer as many questions as we can tomorrow. And with that, I opt to close this out. Anybody want to second that?
I second.
I third it.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. And everyone have
Thank you, everybody.
All right. You guys have safe. Be safe.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Bye, Judd.
Bye.
Bye, Judd.
All right, y'all. I'm officially ending the meeting. All right. Good meeting, y'all.
All right. Listen up.
Yes.
There's well,
Judd, why are you still here, Judd?
I'm leaving. Bye.
Devon, what I was gonna say, if you get Devon, I was gonna say if you keep the board on. Phil, you can stick around, and Raul, you don't have to. I'm just gonna talk to the board and just get some feedback.